What up, y'all? This is Tracy from Nerd Squish, and today we're going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 1. Alright, I know we've all been watching Stranger Things because it has taken the world by storm. I mean, who doesn't like Stranger Things? People that have not watch Stranger Things. It's the only people that don't like it. But I love this show. I've been with it since the beginning. However, this season has definitely stepped it up a notch. It's quite different from all the previous seasons, and I am obsessed with it. I have recently started watching it again for the second time, and I was like, I have to talk about this. It's too good. I need reviews and I need to talk about it with my people. So here we are. We're going to do a little episode by episode recap of the season so far, because apparently we have to wait till July for the rest of it for some reason. Netflix. If you're new to the channel, this is Nerd Squish, where we take everything spooky and we take everything nerdy and we squish it all together. So, if you like Stranger Things and you like spooky things, definitely hit that subscribe button so you can watch more videos from us in the future, especially if Stranger Things pops up at a certain event that I might be wearing a t-shirt for. You're gonna want news on that, trust me. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this episode, I just want to talk a little background on how the show has changed, because wow, there is a different tone to this season, and I'm living for it. So this season has gotten much, much, much darker than the previous seasons. The show always had like a hint of horror to it, but it was always more of a sci-fi show. Well, season 4, they're like, no, we're going full spooky. Everybody hang on to your butts, because it's spooky. We're spooky now, which I love. I love it. There's so many nods and references to horror, 80s horror in the show, and it was like, I so excited. I loved it. So, we're going to talk about the references as well as things that were actually happening in the show. I do want to warn you guys that if you don't want spoilers, this is not the place to be. I will be talking about spoilers. This is your moment. I'm throwing up the spoiler warning because we're gonna talk about details. So, watch the show, and then come back. I'll wait, I'll be here. Our very first episode of Season 4 opens to a flashback from 1979. And in this flashback, wow, we're getting right to it. We are getting right to it. This is the most brutal 8 minutes of this show that I think we've seen thus far, because trust me, it's gonna get more brutal. But this is pretty dang brutal. So in this flashback, we are going back to where it all started in the facility with Elle and Dr. Brenner. And in this flashback, a brutal murder of everyone in the facility is going down, and it looks like Elle is the person to blame. And it's wild. It is wild. It is so wild that they actually put a warning in the beginning of the show, just in case. It's rough. So after the credits roll, we are in a present day, 6 months after the Battle of Starcourt, where we're following our friend groups that are now separated for the first time in the show's history, to this extent, state-wise. Elle and the Byers have relocated to California. We see Elle is writing a sweet letter to Mike, letting him know how happy and joyful California is, and life is great, and it's wonderful. It's not. It is not. It is a living hell for Elle in California. She is not adjusting well to her new life. We see scenes of her at school where they have to do a presentation on a hero. She does a really, really sweet presentation on how Hopper is her hero. She built a little diorama. And as always in every 80s movie, there is a bully that has to just ruin it all and completely make her cry and feel terrible. And it's rude. We all hate Angela. To the point where Elle rushes out of the classroom and her presentation, and they're in the walkway of the school, and Angela continues to bully her even further, which is driving Elle crazy. So she tries to pull the whole to him, and they're all like, what is this? Because she is now powerless after the battle at Starcourt Mall. Back in Hawkins, the rest of our crew is also adjusting to high school and navigating it and figuring out how to survive in this world. Mike and Dustin have joined a new D&D group called Hellfire Club, and we are introduced to the leader of this club, Eddie Munson. Who doesn't love Eddie Munson? He is your typical, just like 80s metalhead dude. What I love about it is when you're first introduced to this character, they're playing the song I Was a Teenage Werewolf. Is it an Eddie Munster reference? I think so. Lucas has joined the basketball team in attempts to become the cool kid because he's sick of being picked on and doesn't want to be seen as a geek and a freak. And we see Max has completely isolated herself from the group. She's dealing with the grief and the trauma of watching Billy die from the last season. They have a really, really great scene where Lucas has like the championship basketball game and he couldn't make it to the D&D group. So they actually had to have his sister Erica sub in. Really, really cute because they're like paralleling the D&D game to the basketball game. And there's this great like walk down the hallway. She's wearing the American flag. It's tight. I love it. As another subplot to this season, we believe Hopper to be dead from the last season's battle. However, Joyce gets a Russian doll in the mail with a letter that says Hopper is actually still alive. So what's going on there? We're not really quite sure just yet, but we will find out as the rest of the season comes. As I said previously, Max is struggling with a lot of grief, trauma. She's dealing with headaches, nightmares, all this crazy stuff. And on her way to go see the school counselor, she sees the head cheerleader walk out and can't help but like goes in the bathroom and hears her, what we assume she's struggling with anorexia and different problems. Well, we see this horrific, it's terrifying because Chrissy's in this bathroom and you hear what sounds like her mother, and then it turns into this demonic voice and we see creepy feet, and then it's all over. We're like, oh, okay, we're safe. We're good, right? We're not good. Because later on, Chrissy goes to the woods in search of drugs to help whatever she's dealing with. And of course, our man, Eddie Munson, is the one that is selling the drugs to her. And at first you're like, oh wow, okay, this is interesting. We have the metalhead druggie and the head cheerleader. You're like, oh, this is gonna clash. And it turns into this really heartwarming interaction that is just so wholesome and I wish I would have had more of. However, it doesn't turn out that way for our characters here. Doom and gloom from here on out, I have to warn you. As Chrissy is having this interaction with Eddie, she's seeing these visions of clocks and spiders and weird voices, and you're like, what does this all mean? So while she's getting drugs from him, she's like, hey, do you have anything stronger? So he's like, sure, let's go back to my uncle's trailer. I have something I can give you. When we get to Eddie's trailer, you have a really cute moment where he runs into his room and he's like, I'm sorry to keep you waiting, sweetheart. And he's talking to his BC Rich guitar, hanging by the mirror, which is just, I love it. But while he is looking for these drugs, Chrissy is having a moment and she goes to run to meet Eddie, and then boom, she's not in his trailer anymore. She is in her house. And that's where it just gets a little wild and crazy. She's running through this house. She sees her mom sewing. And then you have this real Evil Dead moment where her voice again transitions into this very demonic voice. And she turns around. She's got the creepy demonic face. And you're like, oh no, this is not good. So Chrissy starts running. She sees her father and his mouth is sewn up and his eyes are sewn up, and then the big bad of the season is revealed. This demon-like creature who kind of reminds me of Victor from Underworld. I don't know, is anybody else seeing it? Let me know in the comments. So this creature approaches her, and at this time we're kind of seeing what's actually happening, not in this dream world that she's in, but back in Eddie's trailer, and he sees her just standing there. Her eyes are all white and creepy, and he's like, hello, are you there? What's going on? And all of a sudden she lifts into the air, and her bones start to crack, her jaw breaks, and her eyes get popped out. She dead. And it is quite possibly one of the most gruesome deaths that we have ever seen on this show. It is tense. So that is our very first episode of season 4, and it was so good. If this didn't get you hooked into watching the rest of the season, I mean, come on. I did not expect this season to be so horror heavy. I honestly wasn't really excited about this season because I love season 3 so much that I was like, okay, where can they go from here? How is this gonna, I don't know. So when I first saw the trailer, I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, we're taking a little left turn, and I don't know if that works. But now that I've watched it, and I know how that left turn, how we get there, whew, it's a ride, and it's a good one. What do you guys think of season 4 so far? Let me know in the comments down below, and definitely subscribe, hit that bell notification, because we are gonna be recapping every episode of this season and talking about it, and I want you guys in on that. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you nerds in the upside down.